Howdy, and welcome to Risky Standard, an actual play podcast featuring a rowdy group of best friends playing tabletop role-playing games together. I am your host and GM, Mitch Broesder. You can find me on Twitter at MagnesiumB. You can find the show on Twitter at StandardRisky. And you can also find us over on the show's Discord. There's a link for that in the show notes. Come check it out. We're hanging out, we're chatting, posting some maps and images, some like inspiration images for some of the earlier arcs we've done this season. Come say hello. With me today, I've got Peter Loftus.
Hey, what's up? I'm Pete. I'm playing as the ace pilot, Rhodes Rampart, yet again.
We've also got Malcolm Hall here today.
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
And we have Timothy Mans.
Hiya, good to be here again today. If you want to go to x.com and bully me about starting a band camp for any of the music, feel free to do that, because I am bad at finishing projects that I said.
But you might want to think twice, because right when he said hiya, he shattered a 2x4 with a solid blow.
Yeah, it's true. It's just...
You couldn't hear it, but it definitely happened.
You couldn't hear that, but it was very shocking for us.
We sound gated it out.
Today, guys, we are continuing our game of Beam Saber by Austin Ramsey. You can find Beam Saber over on Austin's itch.io page. We are continuing today our squad's mission at the Lost Crown Saloon in the Shade District of Coronatus, where they've been sent to retrieve and copy the personal network device of the Grenfield executive Sellers Montag. And so last session, the foray match that we've all been waiting for started up after the end of the meet and greet session with the VIPs. And during that time, Rhodes was able to dispatch his first combatant in the Diadem Royale, a foray pilot named Perel Threetide. Carta and Desmond were able to use the excitement surrounding that moment to sort of finalize their work on the clock representing their friendship or their ability to endear themselves to the target, Sellers Montag. And completing that clock has now given them the opportunity or the opening to kind of try and move in closer to retrieve the device that the mission is centered around. And alongside all of that, we're talking about the clocks that we have going right now. There's, of course, a 6-segment clock here that is tracking the health and status of Rhodes's holographic projection. It's a 6-segment clock, and you've taken 1 tick on it, a little bit of damage in your first encounter. You're still going strong. Like I just said, we have a completed clock that represents the friendship with the target, Sellers Montag. And there's also now a mystery clock that is a 4-segment clock. It has been ticked twice. We don't know quite what it means yet, although I think last time I hinted that it is in some way connected to the fact that off in the corner of this VIP booth, the Concordat cleric, Almuric Yet, has been sort of tucked away, sort of quietly chanting or praying, perhaps, looking at an image of the Concordat pilot on the foray board, Palace Again. And that was basically exactly where we had left off. The guys had just finished that clock with Sellers. And so I think we're going to kind of pop right back in here. But any questions from you guys or anything we want to talk about before we kind of move into the flow of action?
No,
I'm ready.
Ready to roll.
Ready to wield steel and slay foes.
So let's we come back. The roar of the crowd has settled down just a little bit. In the wake of Rhodes' successful first encounter, which I think was also the first encounter of this Diadem Royale. Perel Threetide, the Gratch foray pilot, is the first to be knocked out. In the VIP booth, Sellers Montag has kind of sat back down alongside some of the other folks in this booth have also sat down. They're starting to chatter amongst themselves once more. Some of these folks have started to make bets again. Their bets have changed. Those who had their money on Perel are now calculating whether or not they can afford to place a different bet on a different winner. Sellers, leans over at some point to whisper something to one of these maroon clothed attendants, who then goes back to like the bookie with the this kind of like mechanical abacus at the back to take another bet. And I think maybe our camera turns to the foray board and zooms in until we are kind of in the holographic landscape of the Diadem arena, this kind of multi-biomed holographic arena that was produced specifically for tonight's tournament. I think when we left off, Rhodes, you had just destroyed the Cacophony, Corel Three Tides foray projection, and you were in a volcanic area with these like lava flows and sulfurous vents around you, a place called the Magma Faults. So maybe we can kind of like zoom in there a little bit to like what's happening on the board before we look back at the VIP box. So I think, from the Magma Faults, like I said, this area is cut into 5 biomes that are all kind of, I think like really laid out like slices of a pie. I think I compared it to like a Fortnite map earlier, which has these kind of like really neatly segmented zones. And I think if that's kind of the case here as well. The 2 adjacent sections to the Magma Faults, right, I think, to the west, whatever that means in this map, right, is the Gunsmoke Peaks, which is like this mountainous area, right, lots of craggy peaks, cliff faces, that kind of thing. And to the east from here, I think it is the Creeping Mire, which is this kind of like bog and swamp area, right? It's like the level you hate getting stuck on in a FromSoft game.
Boy, they love the swamp.
You take a lot of chip damage there for sure. So maybe we can just, like I said, I want to keep this thing with Rhodes in the foray match, a little zoomed out, a little bit of a lighter touch, just so that we're not playing out 5 like blow by blow mech combats in a row. But it's like, what is
Yeah, totally.
The smoking wreckage of the Cacophony is like sinking into the lava flow near your foray projection, and I think, like I said, there was a roar from the crowd just a moment ago, and I think, maybe like in the filmic version of this, right, we would get like, cutting from like the roar of the crowd outside to like the perspective of Rhodes in the helmet. Mm-hmm. I think that there's some kind of like noise muffler going on, so you still hear the crowd a little bit. It's not like you're getting only the audio of the match, but definitely it's like muffled, right? So like we get the cut from like the real loudness is suddenly, it's like you're, almost like you're inside a mech, actually, in the way that like the helmet you're wearing is dampening the actual outside noise, and you're being piped in kind of like the game board noise instead.
Yeah.
Which direction is Rhodes going to head? What is his game plan from this moment?
I think just sort of like surveying, I'm imagining in like the, heads up display of the actual like foray rig, like in the 3 screens here, I'm calling it the Rotarius, like this, little borrowed machine, I think still has like that wrist blade like ignited just sort of at his side. Surveying, I'm going to do like a quick little scan again to see if there's any other signatures around, as I think Rhodes cuts through on like local band of the radio to just say, anyone else feeling brave?
Yeah, you want to do like a scan here? I think this is probably, you've defeated your immediate opponent. Let's say this is like controlled standard effect.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll.
I think you're in a combat. I think there's like a danger still here, so it's not an unfortunate roll.
Okay, so consequence possible.
Consequence possible.
Yep. I just don't want to get ambushed, so I'm gonna roll this 1d6. And I got a 1.
All right, that is a failure. So I think, a failure on a controlled roll here, right? I think this is a situation where, maybe like the ping goes out, right? And you see like your scanners light up. And I think it's unclear to you whether it is interference from like the holographic metals in the magma flow, or it's just that this thing doesn't have the powerful enough sensors. But you don't get anything right away. I think
but it is lighting up.
Well, it's like lighting up in like a way that's like you're getting like false results. You're not getting like anything, right? Or you're getting like like false results. You're not getting like a sign of a mech nearby. But you can tell that it's not an accurate reading because you're getting like maybe like ghost pings. You're getting kind of like the sensors are malfunctioning a little bit. And so what I would say here on this failure on a controlled roll, right? I think Rhodes knows that if you were to gain a little altitude, use the thrusters to go vertical a little bit, get clear of this magma, you might be able to try again by seizing a risky opportunity. Or you could, of course, withdraw and try a different approach or action.
And just to
I'm saying here.
Recapping, to the east is the Creeping Mire, to the west was the Gunsmoke Peaks.
Yeah, and then I guess like vertically straight across from you on the pie, if you were to head that direction, you could probably get the next closest one is the... Sorry, I'm just going back up to find my dumb names for all of these. Is the Ancient Dwellings, which is like a urban environment sort of in the style of like ancient ruins.
I think I'm going to go west to the Gunsmoke Peaks here and start cruising that way. I think, I don't know what I need to get out of this, like, magma zone, but whether it's, like, a mobility suite or something to, like, kind of move quickly through this landscape, I'm going to push that way, and keeping kind of an eye on the horizon, I'm looking for movement or, like, signs of life.
So I don't think there's, like, a role to leave this area. I think, you're able to kind of pick your way, it's like boosting over like certain lava flows. And, there's like an effect that happens here, right? This kind of display effect where I think like there's like kind of a almost, in a very video gamey way, kind of like a definite line you cross over and it's suddenly like the color palette changes a little bit, right? It's like the sky goes from being kind of like this intense red to instead it's kind of like a little bit more gray and washed out as you enter the Gunsmoke Peaks. You get like a palette swap a little bit. I don't think that you're getting, like, environmental music, but if you were, right, this is, like, where it would change. And, I think, you move into this mountainous region. As you are starting to make your way into there, I think I want to cut the camera back, and then we'll, like, cut back to you in just a second. As you kind of change regions. You get the widescreen shot of, like, what is the gladiator name you said? The Rotarius?
Yeah, Rotarius.
Yeah. Like, we get the shot of that, this holographic mech, in that... And then we kind of zoom out in a way that's like, we're looking at the screen again in front of Sellers and Desmond and Carta, inside the booth. There's the chatter again of this group of people, I think Rebus, we hear Rebus Actual's voice in the background, just, commenting on how interesting the game has been so far. So you guys filled the sort of the friendship clock that we set up earlier in this mission. Which we kind of said would give you an opportunity or an opening to try and make a move on Sellers Montag. So I guess my question is, what's happening in the box right now? Like, I think the way this is depicted, right, is like maybe suddenly Sellers has just like let his guard down a little bit more. He's like ordering drinks for the table and he's like handing things over to you. He's like, just getting a little bit looser and a little bit more comfortable being around you guys than he was earlier in the evening. The kind of exchange you had about the quality of Rhodes' performance earlier and like the kind of like light debate you've had. He's feeling a little bit more comfortable, a little bit warmer towards you.
Has this warming up to us is his bodyguard, what's their name? Python, is he still kind of around, or is this warming up? Stella's just buying drinks and whatnot. Is he been like, you can go, or is he still kind of just on top of him?
I think so. Python is still there. Python No 8, this like a robotic guard is still there. But I think, maybe the way we get is that like, he like cleared like a cushion off near him and it's doing motions for one of you to come over and sit like near him or something, and Python tries to stop him and it's like a moment where he's like, it's fine, don't worry, mm-hmm. And I think he like nudges Siegfried's elbow and is like, company leash, a little overprotective, you understand. And then he like he gives you a serious look and he says, no funny business, and then like, starts laughing at his own joke and takes another drink.
Yes, of course, yes. I mean, I do not. I'm not provided with such precautions in my line of work, but I understand completely.
And so, I think that's the thing you get that tells you that like Python is still there. That bodyguard is still doing his job, but Sellers is kind of like pushing back on his leash a little bit and is like a little bit more free. And so, like I said, I think we had originally talked about this idea as like a photo op, as like the opportunity you were thinking about taking. It doesn't have to be that, but like when you're ready to try and do a thing, I think that opportunity is there. I don't know if that is now or if you're still waiting on that moment.
The other thing, Do we see where he's keeping the device? Like, is it in a pocket?
You saw him put it inside the interior pocket of his jacket.
Okay.
You know, he's like I said, he's wearing kind of like this like gaudy purple like Western wear suit.
Right.
So I don't know if there's like a role you guys want to make here yet, or if whether that's like actually doing the job, or if that's like a setup action or something, or if you're still if you don't have to yet, you can pull the trigger whenever. I'm just curious if you're ready to make that move yet, or if you're still waiting on it. I guess.
think I'm still waiting. I think that Carta and Des need to kind of figure out exactly what that looks like. So I think they're talking. Sellers is talking to someone else, maybe Gentian or whatever, and he like pulls Des over to like another like snack table or whatever, and he goes, we have to get that jacket off. There's no way we're gonna reach in and be able to just grab that phone without him noting, or the hunk of junk that he's with.
Yeah, I noticed that. I mean, I could try to get in there, but
how about this?
Turn up the heat.
Someone spills it. Turn up the heat. That's great. Or we spill a drink on it.
You guys are going to have to get into a Canadian hockey fight and pull his jersey up over the back.
Or drunk me or drunk you spills a drink on him. Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me get that. I'll clean it up for you. Maybe when we take a photo, you go in for a pose and you spill it on him. I distract him. I'm taking photos. Maybe get that jacket off and go wipe it up with some napkins. I don't know. We really made sure we had our work cut out for us on this one. With this plan that we've made.
You got to make it look really realistic that you're spilling the drink on him. You can't just go over and
what happens if I'm
just
taking
dump it on him and say, "Oh, clumsy me." No. You really, I mean, if you're going to do this, I don't want to trust you to do this.
No, I want you to do it.
You want me to do it?
I'll be like taking the photo. You walk up, you spill it on him. We'll be like, oh, shoot, for the picture. Here, take this off real quick. I'll clean it up. We're going to get a shot. We'll still look good. I can, make him feel like we'll get a strong pose. You don't need the jacket. This is going to be awesome. It will make the article really, really exciting.
You think he's not going to be mad at us?
He's been buying his drinks all night.
He might just be really mad and then say, well, you spilled a drink on me. I'm not going to take a picture with you now.
He could be. That is true.
Sir, are you mad at me?
Is there a way that we could turn up the heat? I think I'm going to look around and see if there's a thermostat in the room.
Maybe you could hack it or something.
Well, also, I don't want to try and do this before the end of the game.
I would say part of your goal is to get it, copy it, and then if you want to complete the secondary objective, get it back on him. Right. So you might want to, timing-wise, you might need to get it done before the game is over.
Like right now, it'd actually be a perfect time to do it.
If you are trying to do like the full both objectives, then you will need some time to copy and then return. So you might want to think about
at the next, whoever's eliminated next, that's when we'll do it. If you can get that heat up, make him loosen his tie, if anything, to make that jacket come off. We may use the drink to spill if we need to.
Yeah, so I would say, before we turn back to Rhodes, if the heat is like a thing you're interested in, I think, a quick glance around the room shows you, Desmond, that near the door, there is indeed, I think, probably some kind of room control device. It's not just the climate control for this box. Probably it's like lighting in the box and other security features. There's a different suite of features there for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it is by the door. However, standing quite close to it is the attendant Elodia Marin, the woman who kind of spoke to you two and introduced you to before you went into the meet and greet. Who kind of seems to be Rebus Actual's go-to assistant. And so she is there standing with this kind of electronic tablet clipboard thing we've seen her with. Not guarding it, but she is by it, I think is kind of, probably she is the one who, if Rebus says something about it, being unhappy with the temperature, she's the one who immediately adjusts it, right?
Yeah.
So she is over there. That is the complication in terms of trying to crank the heat in the room. So I don't know if that is something you want to try and do before we turn the camera back to Rhodes. That's a funny idea. I like it.
I think it's a lot funnier than spilling something on him. Also, yeah, I don't know. I just think that he would get mad if we spilled something on him. There's a room for that, but also this is a lot more complicated, and I think that we should just go with that. More complicated path always. So I gotta distract her somehow. I could tell her I'm open to.
You're gonna have to get that flirt on.
Ideas. Oh no. I want to tell her like.
You said the more complicated path.
That is the only thing I really have though. I can sway with guile, wit, and charm.
Well, sway? Yeah, I think if you can get her to move away from it, probably adjusting it is not that difficult. But also, if you're trying to do it while she's there, then probably some kind of subterfuge or like sneaking is going to be required in some way. Something that, like you said, distracts her. But I got
to turn it off, but I have to make it also so that it can't be turned back down.
True.
Mm-hmm.
You have no weapons. You got a pen?
Well, yeah, you have tools and supplies. That's still open to you.
I do have tools and supplies. Yes.
And you have 2 extra load of supplies and gear. I think also enough from your new
sheet. Supplies. I could bribe her.
You could try and bribe her. That'd be a wild mode, but I'm not against it. Yeah, that's a fun sway.
That seems insane.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna bribe her to be like, hey, listen, here's some money. Just turn up the heat and don't let anybody else turn it back down.
Okay.
This should work.
I'm gonna try and do that. Fuck it, why not?
Yeah, so give me a little bit of color here. Like, what does this look like?
I'm really cold.
What does this look like exactly? Like, how does Siegfried approach and make this request?
I think he just walks up and goes like, "What's her name again?"
Elodia.
So I walk up to Elodia. I go like, "Excuse me, ma'am. Elodia, was it?"
Elodia Marin. How can I help you, sir?
I'm so sorry. I'm just dreadful to bring this to your attention, but I was just wondering. Could you perhaps turn up the heat to a very hot temperature? You see, I'm just not used to. I've just come from down in the valley, and it's these slightly higher elevation is it's just too cold, and I was wondering if you could turn it up and don't turn it back down whatsoever. And I mean really hot, and I think that I'm maybe just slipping a little credit. What do we have paper money?
We have paper money in Coronatus,
yeah. Yeah. So I'm slipping a couple drachma into her palm as I say this, maybe with a little wink.
Yes. Okay.
However much a bribe is.
So a bribe is 1 load per each, and it also it takes a point of a supply point to utilize.
Sounds good.
So you're marking a bribe. I'll take one of your material, I reckon, away.
Okay.
This feels, or maybe personnel. Maybe it's probably personnel, right? This is like petty cash.
Put on the company card.
What is the roll on this? This is definitely you're using sway. We said, right?
Yeah.
I think that this is still pretty low stakes, all things considered. You haven't asked her to do something that's dangerous or deadly or really truly against her moral principles per se. So I think this is controlled with a standard effect. Yeah, do you want to give me... I mean, you can push yourself here, of course. You could take a devil's bargain.
What would be the devil's bargain?
Devil's bargain in this instance is... I'm just going to tick another segment on this mystery clock.
On which clock?
There's a 4-segment mystery clock right now. It's the one that's maybe tied to whatever praying this cleric is doing. So you don't know exactly what that's going to look like or what that'll mean when that completes. But I'll tick 1 segment on it if you want an extra dice right now.
I don't know. That mystery clock is scary to me. I don't want that clock to get ticked.
So you can definitely push yourself. Carta could also assist you here.
Yeah, Carta, would you be so kind as to assist me in this?
Yeah, sure. I too am also so cold.
Maybe you're talking to Rebus or something, pulling her attention away.
Yeah. How are you? So this is also going to cost you 2 stress, Carta, because you have 2 connections with Desmond.
I have to 2 stress for this?
You can afford it.
You'll be able to give him 2 benefits, so you can give him an extra dice and also give him increased effect. All right. How do I do this? Do you want me to distract her so that she goes and does something else?
No, I'm just going to tell her to turn it up and, hey, under no circumstances, if someone tells you, hey, turn it down, just say it's broken.
And so how is Carta helping you here? Is this distracting other people in the room?
Yeah, he's distracting the rest of the room. He's saying, hey, everybody, get together for a picture. Why don't you? Yeah.
Sure.
I'm going over and talking to her while he is distracting everybody else, so that they don't suspect anything.
I'm talking to one of the other the attendants, guards, whatever, in maroon, and doing a little interview of like, I also want to know for this whole story, you know, building the whatever tale that I'm telling, that I want to hear what it's like for the people who work here day in, day out. What is it like? Because you guys are the ones who really keep this kind of event together. There are, you know, gamblers are a dime a dozen, but there's only a few people who are trusted to work here. So would you mind telling me about this? And then walking some of the other guards who are maybe around there to the corner, getting to sit down to talk to me. You know, oh, don't worry. It will only take a second. Things are under control over here, you know.
Yeah.
So I think it's distracting them and kind of jumping back and forth so that anyone else who might have a eye on her is actively not.
Cool. So let's call that increased position, or sorry, increased effect and an extra dice. So that'll be controlled great effect. 2 dice to start, unless you also want to push yourself, Malcolm.
I'll stick with the 2 dice.
All right. Let's roll those bones.
4.
All right. On a 4. 4 is definitely a success. She's going to do it. And, you know, we didn't talk about it this way, but I realize in this moment, this is kind of a setup action. And so I think that your success here will give you an increased, better position or effect on your next roll to try and actually do the deed, to try and steal the thing from him. Because that's kind of what you're doing, right? Is you're giving yourself a better setup for when you make the move. And so I think she agrees to do it. You know, she palms the money from you. But I'll make a clock here, because I think she tells you she will do it. You know, I'll do this. But if he, and she kind of, you know, motions her head towards Rebus Actual, if he tells me to change it, I cannot say no.
Oh, I understand.
Anyone else? It doesn't matter. But if he makes the order. And so I'm going to make a 4-segment clock here real quick, which is like Rebus's heat tolerance.
Rebus is getting too hot. Yeah. That is one sweat. That is a frog in a hot pan. Or what is it? Like a boiling pot of water?
It's a lie.
It's a lie.
Urban myth. Yeah, they'll jump out. Of course. The frog's like, this is so fucking hot.
So, yeah, Rebus heat tolerance is this 4-segment clock. It's going to start out, I guess once it fills, or once all 4 segments of this clock have been ticked, it's too hot for the frog, and you will lose this kind of bonus that you have given for yourself.
Okay.
So you have a kind of like a ticking clock here for how long it's be, but like, you know, I think you turn it on, and, you know, as you settle back into your seats to continue watching the match, you know, you can start to see, you know, like the camera zooms in on like the telltale bead of sweat starting to roll down Sellers' forehead. And so this will be taking effect shortly.
Desmond is staring directly at the side of his forehead, an inch away from it, watching the sweat bead down and going, yes.
I'm comfortable. Are you comfortable?
Very good.
Yeah, I'm bringing over the various spicy pepper dips that they have provided.
Yeah, thanks for tuning into Risky Standard, where you've hot action of messing with the thermostat. The most exciting role-playing game on the internet.
The gang messes with the thermostat and gets a frog real sweaty.
Yeah. We're not afraid to do it. Other podcasts out there terrified to do what we're doing. They wouldn't touch this content with a 10-foot pole because it's exciting. All right, now back to the actual exciting part of the game. Yeah.
So yeah, you know, as we turn our camera back to the hollow table, right? You know, the screens around the arena flashing to show different images of the pilots. I think we see, you know, maybe there's like a scream or a yell in the crowd as we see 2 of the other combatants have met in one of the other areas. But in the Gunsmoke Peaks, it's quiet. We get the shot of Rhodes' machine, Rhodes' projection moving through kind of the valleys and the hollows of this mountain range. And I think... Yeah, let's just start off, right? The way that this happens is, you know, I think, again, I've been playing a lot of Armored Core 6, right? So I imagine there's this kind of warning beep. Gives Rhodes just enough time to, like, boost out of the way before there is a explosion of rock and dust where the mech had been standing a moment ago. And there is just the faintest blue wisp of energy still kind of dissipating in the trail that it has punched through from a distant peak. And against all of this, like, kind of like a slate gray, like these cliffs and peaks, I think you can see off in the distance, like I said, the plasmic vapor still rising from the squared off barrel of her rifle. There is a bright red, sleek mech in kind of a half crouch, right? Like in a marksman's position. And I think you would recognize immediately, seeing the projection during the meet and greet and in kind of your research. This is Sunder Fairside. She is a member of the Commonwealth military unit known as the Golden Bayonets. So she's the one other person that you know for sure in this battle is like also an actual mech pilot, not just a 4A player. And she has caught Rhodes in her sights and is firing this kind of like plasma launcher rifle from, like I said, like, this kind of like peak that's like a good distance away, like vertically. Like I said, I think you're kind of in the middle of like a dip or a valley here. And so she's, up on this hill off in the distance, and I think, we were cutting between, these kind of like game board shots. So we're seeing the action, as if we were seeing real mechs, and then cutting to, the crowd view of like the game board below and like the big screens that are, cutting to different camera angles of this fight. And so, yeah, Rhodes, you didn't get hit with the first shot, right? But you're on alert.
Yeah.
And you know that she's already sighting. The next shot is just a moment away.
Yeah.
It's kind of about what you do. How does Rhodes from a distance try and, how do you handle the situation?
Totally. I think to set scene a little bit, like in my mind, these like gunsmoke peaks are, like we talked, like kind of slate gray peaks and valleys. I'm imagining there's also kind of like a snaking like Oxbow River kind of like at the valley, at the very bottom of this.
Yeah. This area connects to the twisting riverlands. So sure, that's like kind of like the transitional kind of zone.
And I think where Rhodes is standing, where that first like volley of like plasma fire singes the rock, is on like the edge of a cliff where like this waterfall drops down into this valley. And I think this is kind of like fast cut, right? Is like, I'm going to mark another vehicle gear here on like a fine mobility suite on the Rotarius.
So is this or
at the very least,
fine mobility suite?
Yeah, that's my...
is something that the Redshift has. I guess, is this utilizing, are you activating this, like, because we talked about you had this like kind of like secret trigger to like reveal that you have the Redshift coded in, right?
Yeah, and I'm not doing that yet. I think this is just going to be a regular... Well, I mean, I don't know. I kind of failed that roll, right? So like how many you tell me if that flashback actually grants me some of the Redshifts vehicle gear.
I think if you once you reveal that, like once you flick that switch, you will have access to all of the Redshifts vehicle gear.
Ooh, okay. No, this isn't that.
What that kind of like low roll on that it means is that like I'm thinking about that when it comes time for like complications.
I think this is not yet, and I think I'm just gonna mark a mobility suite, and I think like the kind of like booster on the back just like fires off over this cliff, over the waterfall. I think dropping a number of stories, splash, like column of water shoots up, and I think fast cut is like. The Redshift is like crisscrossing this river, right? Like even almost like skating on the water, as I think like volley after volley kind of is just near missing. Do you want me to roll for that, or am I cool to keep jiving here?
I mean, it's like, what's the end game for you here? Like, how are you trying to kind of end this encounter, and then we can...
I think as the projection is like crisscrossing this river, I'm closing the distance between me and Fairside until the point that I can have some like good visibility. And I think on one of these like kind of mobility suite crosses, I'm going to loose like another volley of rockets from this missile rack. Like I think it would ostensibly look like, vertical launch. You probably hear like the, like radar ping as it's like, like getting closer, to the target. But last second is not targeting Fairside. It's targeting like the bluff that Fairside is like positioned on, and I'm gonna try to like destabilize wherever Fairsight is like crouched right now.
Oh, nice. So what vehicle action do you want to like encompass this this kind of exchange with?
I guess I'm gonna hit it with like bombard. I have nothing in bombard. Battle, I think, is too close quarters.
This could be about maneuverability, about dodging those shots to get close enough to do the thing.
Yeah, because I guess it's really. Let's. Are you cool? I'll pull maneuver.
Yeah, I think maneuver. So I think if it's maneuver, I'm saying that this is risky standard, right? You're not like totally out of your depth. You're doing something you're good at doing as a pilot, or like maneuverability is like a mark of Rhodes' skills.
Yep.
And this is like vehicular combat. So I think this is risky standard to start. So that's 2 dice for maneuver. Of course, the usual options here, right, in terms of pushing yourself or taking a devil's bargain.
What's a devil's bargain look like?
Oh, buddy, I'm going to tell you because you already know it is that I'm going to take that mystery clock.
Mystery clock? And that's at 204 right now?
That's at 204 right now.
And that would improve effect, or give me an extra die.
That would give you an extra dice.
I'll roll the 2. I'm just going to take it. I think since it's maneuver, I think this is more of like crisscrossing. These like missiles fire off, and I'm going to try to like push through and flank as like the rubble falls kind of behind me here. 5.
So on a 5 here, on a risky, I think the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take 2 segments on your temporary vehicle clock.
Okay.
Because I think as you're crisscrossing back and forth across the river and she's taking these shots at you, you know, she's firing this like plasma rifle. It's firing these kind of like corrosive globs, right, of plasma that like, you know, they hit the water and it's scalding steam immediately. But they're not like beams and they're not, you know, shells or anything like that. They have like, as they fire, they almost kind of expand a little bit. It's like they're like globs of plasma that she hits near you but doesn't actually hit you directly. You still get like burns and you take like, you know, hull damage as from these like close calls as you make your way across the battlefield.
Like molten glass.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. That's a good one too. Right. Like as it's like hitting this like slate kind of earthen material. It's like pitching it up as like shards of obsidian that have been melted and like hyper cooled almost instantly. And so you're taking all this chip damage basically. And you know you make your way close in that way. You fire off the missiles to kind of start this rock slide going. It is like taking up the footing underneath this kind of like mech that is like not really built for mobility, right? It's like, you know, something that's been designed all about just like, you know, I think you can see there is like a, as you get closer to close the distance, right? This is a stiletto model mech, is the name I have for it. And I think like the aesthetic touchstone I have in mind for this compared to like a lot of what else we have seen from the Commonwealth, which is like more like heavy industrial machinery. This thing looks like a Lamborghini, right? Like the Lamborghini of mechs, like a sports car, right?
You know,
right? It is like
spindly
almost
and
like
smooth.
Fiberglass.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that there is this like huge bulky generator in the torso, right? That is like attached via coils directly to this big bulky plasma rifle that she's been firing at you. And so I think, you know, as you are in the air and these missiles start raining down, we get her, you know, looking up at you and firing one last shot. And maybe this is like what really seals these 2 ticks of damage on the thing, right? Is like she gets one and it's not a perfect hit again because like the ground is literally crumbling underneath her mech's feet as she takes this last shot. So she scores like a blow on you with this plasma rifle. And then the mountain gives way beneath her, and this, you know, this shiny sports car of a mech is just kind of torn apart by the forces of like the tumbling rock and the fall. It's not built for impact. And, you know, we're hearing like the tumbling of the rocks and the avalanche. And that sound kind of merges into the sound of the crowd cheering as we kind of come out again. And, you know, the boards light up all across the arena as, you know, we get like a it's like 6 headshots of all of the pilots, and Perel 3-Tide is crossed out.
Yeah.
And now the young Lectorian woman, Sunder Fairside, her portrait is also like X'd out with a big red X across it.
I'm sure we get like a cut to, pilot in the rig just being like, oh, fuck, like throwing down the thing.
Yeah, we definitely get the Gundam, she's screaming at you, just like, a real gamer moment, like meltdown, right? And then, the shot in the arena, I think she takes off her VR helmet and like throws it on the ground as her seat starts to lower beneath the arena again. And you know what? I think another thing that happens at the same time, or not at the same time, but actually like really closely right afterwards, right? And I think we get this is probably a display that lights up on Rhodes' dash as well. Like you get this information too, I think. Mm-hmm. But we get that, and we get it on the board at the same time. As the kind of uproar from the crowd is happening, over the course of this fight and about this fight, that just swells, and, it's like we're getting screens that are still showing the kind of defeat of Sunder Fairside, and then they have to cut immediately to the
other skirmish out here.
Yeah, to the ancient dwellings is where they cut to this like urban environment full of like ancient kind of like first era ruin recreations, and we get a shot of the ceramic white Caesura unit of Palace again. It is drawing this long sword out of the hull of a unit we didn't get to see, this quadrupedal mech called the Onager, which was Jorn Fullschrift's cybernetically augmented drone carrier mech. But yeah, Palace again is there, and he's from the cockpit, right, removing the full length of this blade, and at the same time that quick succession after Sunder Fairside has been eliminated. We get the announcers again, dropping like flies, folks. We've got Sunder Fairside eliminated by the dark horse of this competition, Rhodes Rampart. But we're also seeing Jorn Fullschrift has been defeated by Palace again, the Concordat pilot. And so there are now only 3 competitors left. Rhodes Rampart, Palace again, and Cormac Kalis, the Chiropteran who had, I believe you remember, a badge on him with a symbol of a one-eyed bat over a moon. And so, yeah, we get those kind of in quick succession, right? Like that the field has changed in this way. And, I think I kind of want to keep cutting back and forth here, keeping a light touch on this.
Yeah. Let me get one last liner in on the local band. I think, Rhodes, after that announcement, and it's Cormac and Cormac Kalis and Palace again, and Rhodes Rampart still in, and whatever. I think Rhodes is at least internal monologue, and probably on some kind of short band is the ruins of the old empire and the fresh flame of the new. Interesting.
Okay.
Well, this is quite the event. We are loving what we're seeing tonight. 2 pilots out at almost the exact same time. Now that is something, that is really, really something to see. What an evening.
In the VIP box, things are getting hot. I'm going to take a segment on this Rebus actual heat tolerance clock because it has warmed up dramatically in the room. That bead of sweat on Sellers Montag's face has been joined by several others. He has loosened his bolo tie and undone the top snap of his shirt. And I think, you know what, you succeeded on that roll earlier. Partially, yeah, not part. It was a success at a consequence, at a cost. But you succeeded on that roll earlier, and so I think, I don't think we have to dance around it too much. I think he does. Maybe without thinking. Maybe it's because the drinks have been flowing. It's the excitement of these two victories, one after these 2 defeats, one after another. 2 contestants out. I think he jumps up. He's clapping with everyone else. At the success that you guys have seen thus far on the battlefield. And I think he shrugs off his jacket. Right. He shrugs his jacket off. And doesn't throw it, obviously, but he's not thinking about it too much because he just kind of shrugs it off, and then one hand in the collar puts it right behind him, like draped over the seat behind him. Well within his, not really in his sight, it's behind him, but it's still within the sight of Python Noate, but not like, he doesn't hand it to him, right? He just kind of puts it on the seat behind him.
But he can see it. Python's
there.
I can't just dig into his jacket right now. Like Python would definitely see it, right?
That would be the roll, right? That's the
Okay.
potential consequences. I don't think Python's like eyes only on the jacket, right? Because I think he's also just as much like Python's keeping his eyes on Sellers, right? But the jacket is off Sellers' body. That is, I think, like the improved kind of position or effect that you are going to kind of get in that way, right? Is like you don't have to take it off, like you don't have to pickpocket at him while he's wearing it anymore. At least not in this moment. Maybe getting it. Okay. Maybe doing the replacement later. You might have, we'll see what happens, right? But he has taken the jacket off and has kind of put it, kind of draped over the cushion behind him. It's such a casual gesture for him, but like, of course, you both clock it immediately, right?
Yeah.
It is like a neon sign flashing, like, look at what's happened. And the crowd, in the booth is excited. People are hooting and hollering. I think a few of the other people in the group also are kind of like coming over here now. There's a little bit more of a crowd coming around where you're at, Siegfried. And I think that this chiropteran like gangster with this kind of like high collared cloak, Lambeau Rodor, I think his name is, who we saw earlier. He's been sitting by Rebus Actual, but he comes over here too, right? Just like the chiropteran pilot in this match, this guy, he's wearing this like kind of like black chiropteran, like kind of traditional cloak, but it has this badge with the stylized black bat over a white moon with a white X over one eye, and he slaps a hand on your shoulder as he kind of like sidles up, and I think other people are doing this too, right? Like, so the crowd is kind of moving to this side of the room a little bit more. But Lambeau Rodor, I think, slaps a hand on your shoulder and he says, "Might have a bit more gumption than we all thought you did. Your pilot's doing pretty well out there."
Yeah. I think he's definitely nervous right now, and he's trying to stay focused on the task at hand, but he just cannot help but try and get a little bit of information right now.
Sure.
He already knows who he works for. Need to at least know what is the name of this organization. Who is this person that I'm talking to important at all? Maybe we could set up a deal later. I could get closer to this organization somehow. I think this is a really good in, and so I'm going to basically, I don't know, I'm going to ask him about himself.
What's your favorite color?
Yeah. It's like Rhodes Rampart, most crack pilot in the whole ring. A lot of people think that the ring is just about politics, and it's boring, and there's meetings, and we all have to share the same toothbrush. But really, it's quite exciting. I guess I don't want to like role play it too much or get into it, but I just want to know who is he? Who does he represent? What gang is he in? What's the name of the gang? Yeah, I want to know all that stuff. Am I gonna have to roll for it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. This is. I'll give you this though. I think it's a controlled roll. I don't think that this is a risky thing, but there's clocks ticking now, right? Time is of the essence, and you're taking time away from the task. So I think this is a controlled roll, and at the same time, I just want to hit that note. Carta, Gall Teller. You see the jacket come off, and you see the crowd kind of thicken around you guys. And I think you can even see, right, because people are coming over to congratulate you or kind of jibe you guys about Rhodes. Python is kind of losing. There's more people here than he can adequately keep a space around Sellers, right? There's kind of a little bit of a tumult here. I think in all of this, you see, right, Des turns towards this other chiropteran and starts talking to him instead.
Yeah.
And so, that's just there. That's just a note I want to hit. But so yeah, what is this roll for you, Des?
It's got to be consort.
Consort? What you got in consort?
0.
0? This is controlled. So out the gate, you are rolling 2 dice and taking the lowest results. You can always push yourself. I could always offer you a devil's bargain.
I know what the devil's bargain is, and I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to put anything on the line right now. I'm just going to roll and hope for the best. That's a 2. So, not good.
So you're not getting much here, right?
I think literally anything is better than nothing at this particular junction.
Yeah. So I think, because you're not going to get much, but I'll give you like something here, right? He of course he reintroduces himself because he didn't get like the proper notice before. He's Lambeau Rador. I'm a business person out of New Ravallo, and he kind of gestures to his badge. Night Flyers. We're kind of a community organization. Don't really get into the same kind of work you all do.
I see.
And so that is that 2 is a failure on this roll, right? And so I am going to take one more segment on this mystery clock.
God damn it.
That is the consequence here. It's one segment. So that clock's not done yet.
Okay. I thought it was done already.
No. There's one more segment still to go.
Okay.
So you got room to play. But the way that is reflected, and we could maybe start calling this mystery clock something more like, Almeric Yet's ritual, maybe is a word.
Okay.
She's off in the corner still. She has not joined the uproar celebrating her champion or yours. Her board, or her vision, her viewer screen is still turned to kind of default follow Palace again, but her eyes are closed, and she is still, kind of in this muttered incantation, this kind of muttered repetitive prayer. And I think I mentioned before, she has these kind of runic circuit style tattoos coming out of her sleeves and kind of the neck of her robes, which you've seen on a few Concordat individuals before. And these have a little glow to them. Not bright enough to catch the eye, but if you do glance over, you can see, that they're almost like they're hot, right? They've got giving off a light. So something's going on there. That is what I think you are able to get from Lambeau Rador. And then I think before you can kind of push any further, he gets swept up, and Gentian Net butts in to say something to him, and the thread of conversation breaks there. And he's kind of lost in the shuffle of people who are all, everyone wants to say something to you about what happened with Rhodes just now. And so there's kind of a cluster of folks around here. But the jacket is off.
Okay, so I think I'm going to take my jacket off and say, boy, it sure is hot in here. I take my jacket off, I put it over his jacket, right? And then I go, I'm just going to go see what I can do. I'm going to go talk to her and see if I can do something about this. And I'm going to pick up my jacket along with his jacket and walk away with it.
Okay.
I think I can get away with that. I can make it at least look like an innocent mix-up. Or I'm gonna put my jacket next to his and then just pick up his jacket and walk away.
Interesting. Okay. And I think having, since we're the only two really paying attention to that jacket as far as, we can really tell, I think seeing this out of the corner of my eye, Carta knows that he needs to get eyes of Python and Sellers somewhere else. And I think this is a chance for him to be kind of point at, what's her name? The Almeric Yet, right?
Yeah.
I think it's what's going on over here? Is this even allowed? Are you allowed to do this? Is she cheating? Is this allowed? You know the rules, and try to get him riled up or get Sellers riled up. And maybe even try to move them that way, so that maybe even trying to get into some kind of confrontation, so that Python also walks with us as he thinks he might need to
Is this an assist on the roll Malcolm's gonna make here? Is that the?
Let's call it an assist and see where that goes from there. And if I need to make another roll in really moving them away and confrontation with Almeric Yet.
Yeah.
We can go from there. But yeah, let's call it assist right now. So I'm taking 2 more stress then?
2 more stress, because you care about each other more, so it costs a little bit more now. But you get to give him better position and effect.
I only have 2 stress left, boyos.
Oh, you're getting close.
I think it should be fine.
Yeah, hopefully.
So the guy who took all 4 stress.
So, what is this? I think I know what this looks like to me, but I'm curious what move you think you're doing here, Desmond.
Oh, it's definitely finesse.
Yeah, I agree. I think finesse makes the most sense.
Yep.
So I would say right now, I think from your setup action before, this is great effect. This is risky great effect. But I think because Carta is assisting you, you can increase the position here and take another die. So we could put this at controlled great effect.
Controlled great and an extra die.
And an extra die, yeah. So that puts you at 3 dice to start, unless you want to push or take any kind of devil's bargain here.
No, I like my chances with 3. Oh, it's a 4. Ooh.
All right.
That's 2 4s and a 2.
It's 2 4s and a 2. Yeah, I think maybe it's time to just pull the trigger on it. So I think the way that this works, Desmond, you get the coat. Get it clean. Because Carta starts making a distraction, like, what's going on over here, right? And it works. Sellers looks that way. The other bettors look that way. Rebus Actual looks that way. And so does the bodyguard, Python. Just like a flick of the wrist, like you don't draw any suspicion to yourself as you pull the coat. Are you taking the full coat with you, or are you just grabbing the phone out of it? You succeeded. Fiction-wise, I'm open to what you want to have done here.
Can I just take? I mean,
like
yeah. I guess I'm
coat.
gonna take. I'm gonna take the full coat.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And then I can make it look like an innocent accident at that point. But if I just grab the phone from it and then I have to put it back in his pocket, I can just keep it in there. I can walk up. I can start the transfer as soon as I get it in my hands. And then by the time I put it back down, I'll have everything I need.
Yeah. So yeah, I think you're able to, you pick it up and you move past them. You're moving towards the back of the room, right?
Yes.
And so you cross towards the back of the room. You're almost to the door. You can get out into the hallway if that's where you're trying to go or out. You're making your way towards the back of the room. And successfully, Carta has drawn everyone's attention towards Almeric Yet, who's kind of often has been secluded in the side of this room, or this viewing box, this balcony area, and has been doing this prayer, this chant for a little while. And I am going to, as a consequence here, tick the final segment of the mystery clock. Then what happens is this. Carta, you draw everyone's attention to Almeric Yet, and she stops chanting, but she's holding, like I said, this glass pendant that has this kind of swirling quicksilver substance inside of it. And she's been holding that this whole time, but I think as she's holding it now, it's not held in her hands. It's almost kind of levitating in between her open palms. I think she opens her eyes and stands looking at all of you, and her eyes are glowing with this faintly luminous kind of iridescence to them, this orichalcum shine that we've seen before. And I think she mutters, so quiet under the roar of the crowd, but I think you hear her perfectly. Something like, "Builder, protect me." And then she seizes this glass pendant in her hand and hurls it onto the floor in front of her. And what happens next, I think, happens over the span of a moment. But this pendant shatters on the ground of the balcony in front of her. And out of it comes this liquid metal, this quicksilver substance that in a moment's time grows and spreads up and outwards until it has kind of traced a kind of perfect oval in the air, starting at the ground right where she's thrown it, and up to the height of a person, until it has formed this sort of shivering oval mirror of this quicksilver substance floating in the center of the room there. And then that mirror trembles and shudders, right, ripples in a pond, as a figure steps out from within it. The quicksilver substance clinging to this person's form as they step forward through this mirror on the balcony. And as the figure fully emerges from this mirrored portal, that portal kind of disperses behind them, clinging to them and then moving on to them. And now there's someone there on the balcony that wasn't there before. And the person that you see is a synthetic person, a machine person. I think you notice immediately, Carta, you're the one who's closest, right? You see it first. You notice immediately that this person, their physical frame, their build is very similar to Rhodes's. It's this armored plating over cabled musculature. It is this faceplate with the vertical slit of light, except where all of that plating, is kind of this dull metal on Rhodes. On this person, it's been replaced with what we recognize now as this kind of trademark white ceramic armor of the Concordat. And that ceramic armor is shot through with cracks branching all across it. Cracks that are, even as this person is standing there, filling with the shimmering quicksilver substance of that mirror portal. The image that jumps to mind for me is the Japanese kind of pottery repair technique.
Oh, yeah.
Kintsugi. It's like that, but it's, white ceramic and quicksilver. Person, he's wearing a flowing white cloak also, right? It's like dragging against the ground as he steps from this portal. Bolted onto the back of his head, aesthetically in the style I have in mind is like these like Byzantine style halos, right? These flat golden discs.
Like an icon.
He has that,
Hell
but it's
yeah.
the 7-spoked wheel.
Shit.
Fuck. Quite an entrance.
A voice emerges from his mouth as he begins to speak, and it, pierces the room. It spreads out. It quiets the crowd around you when he speaks. I am the Intercessor, Hyacinth Corin. I represent the Order of the Oculi who act with the Hierophant's authority to pursue matters of divine justice. And the two armed security guards that Rebus had here are already moving into action. They've drawn their pistols, and as one of them lifts and goes to fire, he pulls the trigger, he fires the gun. This person, the Intercessor, raises one hand, and another one of these shimmering mirrored portals kind of appears in the front of his palm, right where the bullet from this heavy hand cannon that's fired goes. And another one of these portals kind of materializes on the other side of him, and the bullet emerges and strikes the other security guard. Takes him out immediately. And it's like with a flick of the wrist that the other guard is, through some fundamental means, hurled against the wall, against the side of this balcony box.
Okay, this seems like cheating.
And he takes another step forward, 1 foot on the railing of the balcony, the crowd around in the box looking at him. I think Rebus Actual has already started to move back towards the door, kind of protected and covered by this Kylaxian, this rocks person who is like standing in between him and this newcomer. And this newcomer, the Intercessor, says, standing on the balcony of the box, I am here seeking the heretic Rhodes Rampart, the destroyer of Feldspar, and a desecrator of sacred relics. And I think, barring any other interruption, he steps forward off the balcony, right? One long stride forward, off the balcony and into the arena, to land square on the center of the foray board. And I think from your perspective, Rhodes, so you're probably not hearing all of this, but you're hearing a voice suddenly that you haven't been hearing before, but it's muffled through the thing that you're getting, right? But it is as if suddenly the shins of a giant have emerged and appeared into the holographic landscape of the game board, right? It's suddenly there's a towering giant. You can just see, the legs going up into the digital cloudscape. And he says, having landed, your life is forfeit, Rhodes. Your crimes are unforgivable. You will return what you have stolen, and you will perish at my hands. And he reaches into his cloak, and he pulls out a weapon that I think looks in shape and make very much in my mind like a flintlock or a wheel-lock pistol, right? This kind of big, ornate, heavy kind of pistol. Except probably the places where it would be wood, it is instead the same white ceramic that his armor is made of. And he levels it at the pod that Rhodes is sitting in. And he pulls the trigger. All light, or not all light, but all color drains out of the room for a moment, right? And all sound, too. The screams and the murmur of the crowd kind of vanish away into nothing. All color drains out of the room. It is like we are suddenly in a negative photo of the place that we have been in. Black and white, save for a thin blue beam of light tracing the way from the end of this barrel to the chest plate of Rhodes sitting in the cockpit. And then all at once, the sound and the color return to the room. They rush in, and at the same time, there is a roar from this gun, and that thin blue needle becomes a bursting blue beam of fundamental energy. And Rhodes, you are going to take the level 3 harm, Devastated, as the beam leaves a cratering, smoking hole sort of in the center of your torso. You can resist that if you'd like, but this is, I think I should say, your rival, Hyacinth Corin, Intercessor for the Order of the Oculi. And a fun thing about rivals in Beam Saber is that they can make a move at any time. They don't have to respond to your rolls to inflict consequences, which is what's happening here. He is doing damage to you right now. You're taking a level 3 harm. That's before you resist or mark any armor. But that is the kind of the announcing move of our friend Hyacinth Corin.
Ooh, boy.
I'm going to make an 8-segment clock, which is Hyacinth Corin's challenge clock. And whenever a rival shows up in a mission, they get, at the very least, an 8-segment clock representing them during that. And that is what needs to be filled to like defeat them or to stop them during this mission. But you cannot kill them unless you spend drive clocks to do so. The most you can do is fill this clock to kind of take them out for this mission. So Rhodes, you're taking the level 3 damage Devastated. Would you like to resist that? Would you like to mark armor?
So to resist is 2 stress, right?
Resist, you take 6 stress minus the highest die result on whatever ability you're using to resist, which would be an attribute. It would be either prowess, resolve, or the other one that I always forget, insight. I think this would probably be a prowess one to be about moving out of the way, I imagine.
I'm gonna resist. I came in light because I was so focused on the 4A match that I did not think about someone shooting me in the chest. So let me start by resisting.
Yes, you also could mark armor here if you want to, so I think by resisting, we'll take this down from a level 3 harm to a level 1 harm to start. If you wanted to put armor on, you can take that all the way down to you can nullify the harm, up to you. You do also, worth remembering, you do have 2 extra load of supplies and gear, I believe, from your recon rigging. Or tools or gear, which are, categories on your pilot loadout. So, what do we talk about? What does resisting this look like for, how do you avoid taking the brunt of this damage?
I think, as soon as, big, these, towering footsteps, started to break into the, VR sim holoscreens of the projection cockpit, and you mentioned that the sound is kind of coming in through, the audience here, and I think that the probably dim, right? But, I feel like probably the most notable thing is that it's quiet. Audience drops out, and I think as that's happening, Rhodes is pulling off the VR headset, right? The kind of moment that this starts to click into place, pulling off the headset, and I think is I'll resist. I'll take that resistance roll, but I think it's colliding with Rhodes's chest plate as Rhodes puts one foot on the console here and is, I think, leaping from or is in process of trying to leap out of the pod and onto the floor here. Do I have to mark armor, or can I just take this and soldier through it?
Yeah, you can just take it as a level 1 harm if you're resisting the harm. So yeah, level 1 harm. Let
me roll first, right?
So you're still going to, the resist is just to see how much stress you take. You're still going to take the level 1 harm no matter what you roll. So I think the level 1 harm here instead is enervated, drained of energy or vitality. I think that this blast still hits you, but it's a grazing wound. But something about it, it's it drains the fundamental energy that powers Rhodes' existence a little bit, right? You feel suddenly you feel a little bit more tired, a little bit weaker after having, it's not even pain so much as it is, just this sudden sapping of life force from you as this beam strikes you. And why don't you go ahead and roll 3d6 and you can see how much stress you take.
All right, rolling. 6, 5, and 2.
Oh, so you take no stress. It's a perfect resist.
Nice.
And I do think it smokes, the kind of burnt ceramic. Oh no, sorry, not ceramic, but the burnt chest plate here I think is cindering, right? And I think maybe cinematic scene, right, is the kind of wideband here. Rhodes I think is kind of mid movement as this beam collides. And I think it is you mentioned this kind of inversion of color, and I think maybe as things snap back when this beam kind of cuts through, there's a bright light, and I think it does knock him back a bit, but I think maybe steadies kind of dropping, I guess, if that's no stress. I'm just going real anime style on this, right? As the smoke clears and the light kind of returns to semi-normal, the fog here sort of dissipates enough to, I think Rhodes probably on one knee, one fist on the ground, standing up, leveling eyes. Is that you, Corin? How far are you fallen?
Not fallen. Holsters this pistol, this energy weapon, and is striding across the flickering hollow table towards you. Not fallen. but crawled, dragged myself forward to find you again. You have taken what is mine by birthright and what is owed to the builder. I will not let this stand a day further. And I think at this point, there are more guards kind of coming into the room, right? Like Lost Crown guards. And I think there is kind of like a kick up of small arms fire, right? Some of these guys are like pulling, I think mostly pistols, as these are just the nearest guards. They're opening fire on this cloaked, ceramic armored figure. And I think the same thing that happened before is happening to some extent, where some of these guys are firing, and before they can hit Hyacinth Corrin, they strike these little like flash portals of mirror that redirect the bullets elsewhere, coming out from portals on the other side. But there are other ones that are just striking the armor, hitting, slugs hitting the ground uselessly afterwards. And I think, Rhodes, as he's moving closer towards you, you see someone land like what seems like a good shot on like the chest plate of this armor, and you see a crack and splinter happen in the ceramic armor. And then this sort of quicksilver substance that's flowing through all these cracks just spreads into this new crack and fills in the gap there.